The Bloomsbury Group by Adam Keith and Joshua Arteta. So the Bloomsbury Group is basically a group of intellectuals, artists, writers, and philosophers that joined together from about 1907 to 1930. They joined together so that they can throw ideas and thoughts off of each other and really question society and some of the things that it consisted of at the time. The majority of the group's members had attended college together at King's College at Cambridge, and they decided to question all assumed thoughts or ideas, and some of their topics included post-war society and caste society or hierarchical thinking, and really they wished to see past the shams and deceptions of life itself. Some of their major themes, they decided at the beginning that they were going to find the true definitions of the true, the good, and the beautiful. Many of them tackled things like sexuality or socialism. In fact, many of them were bisexual or homosexual themselves, and they had a liberal idea on most things, especially like what is right and what is wrong. Formalism was a form of art that basically looked at lines and shapes and the way the artist painted, and it basically had this idea that everything about a piece of art can be seen in that piece of art, and that you don't have to have context. And this is really like practiced by Clive Bell, and he was a famous art critic at the time. Another art critic in the group was Roger Fry, and he really looked at post-impressionism, which is basically like a form of painting that involved heavy amounts of paint, not very normal color palettes, and things that look real still but are slightly off, so that it can't be seen as like a Renaissance painting. Brass band was kind of a form of music that they promoted. If you can imagine like an orchestra but without percussion, maybe some woodwinds but mostly brass, and it was just like a form of music that inspired them at the time. The Whom of the Bloom. Some of the famous ones in the group were Virginia Woolf, and she was known for her liberal approach to sexuality. She wrote about how women are abused emotionally by men, and she especially explored post-war society. Ian Forster, he discussed class difference, particularly caste systems and hypocrisy. Lytton Strachey was a famous biographical writer, and he kind of changed biographies by mixing in wit and psychological analysis with some other things that hadn't been used before. As mentioned before, Clive Bell and Roger Fry were members, and they were art critics that looked at art in a new way. And then you had Leonard Woolf, which was Virginia Woolf's husband, and he was a famous writer, and he promoted socialism but on a gradual plane. Some historical events that really influenced them. World War I was a really big one. As I mentioned earlier, Virginia Woolf, she was big on post-war society and kind of how it could create a sense of depression. Also, it was around the change of the century, so new ideas and thoughts were coming out. And many of them were actually pacifists or conscientious objectors to World War I, and they were allowed by the government of Britain to promote some of their works during wartime instead of participating in the war itself. And really, like, the group just overall wanted to challenge the ideas and beliefs of the time, and they kind of ushered in a new era of writing and art.